welcome back. Thank you for coming and watching the second part in my budget grocery shopping video. If you have not watched part number 1, then go back and watch that. It kind of sets the stage at the beginning for just getting the mindset of shopping on a budget and learning how to do that a little bit better. And then I gave you a few tips. And so now we're going to get back to actually the ones that I filmed last week but got cut because the video was way too long. So we're gonna go back, watch some of those, and then I'm gonna hop back on today and add a few more to our list. So let's get started. Number 5 is to keep the meat in breakfast for special occasions or weekends only. Some people will have like sausage and bacon and stuff like that regularly for breakfast. Not everyone does this, but it can be a fairly common thing for a lot of people. I would encourage you to stick with more simple things for breakfast that do not cost as much, and then keep that meat, that bacon, which tastes amazing, but keep it for the weekends when you're home with your family and you can have a nice relaxing breakfast, or keep it for special occasions. For us, we typically keep having bacon or sausage for special occasions, and it's not something that I buy regularly. We love it, but it's more expensive, and so we just don't use it on a regular basis. Keep things like, there's plenty of ways to get protein sources without having meat. Eggs, great protein source and super cheap. Even oatmeal has a really big amount of protein in it, and it's super cheap. If you want to, you can buy the protein powders if you want and put it in there. Protein shakes are easy to make, and stick some peanut butter in. If you're into it, you can put raw eggs in your smoothie. Some people do that. Add oats to it. Protein powder if you just like absolutely must. So those are some ways that you can have nice, healthy start to your day full of protein without the meat. All right, number 6 is to buy in-season produce. If you buy oranges in the month of June, they are going to cost most likely much more than if you bought them in January, because citrus fruits are in season in the wintertime, not in the summertime. Same applies for strawberries. If you buy strawberries in January, they're going to cost 3 times or more what you could buy them in June, and they taste terrible in January. So when it comes to a lot of vegetables, I typically try to buy them only when they're in season. And that goes, for fruits, but most of the time if I'm buying fruits that are berries, then I am not going to buy them other than like June, July, August. If I'm going to buy something like, let me think of something vegetable wise. Asparagus. I really like eating asparagus, and most people in my family like it too. Most people. Okay, I'm not sure my kids like it, but oh well. They can learn to like it. But Willis and I at least like eating asparagus. Well, it's in season in the springtime. It's not in season in November. So I'm just not gonna buy it unless it's in season, because 1, it's gonna be healthier, 2, it's gonna taste better, and 3, it's just cheaper. So that should go for most produce. There are some things that's pretty much cheap no matter what time of year it is. Carrots are one of those things. Carrots are like super cheap regardless of the time of year. And obviously like there's some things you're just gonna buy year round. Most people, including myself, are gonna buy like lettuce and greens even in the wintertime, even when they're not like necessarily in season. But for the most part, if you buy the foods when they're in season, they're going to be so much better quality, and they're going to be so much cheaper as well. All right, so tip number 7 is avoid prepackaged snacks. This is a hard one. It's a hard one for me, and I know it's a hard one for probably most people. Because whether you're eating just a normal diet and you're buying like cookies and Doritos, or you are a like more pure food person and you're buying like organic type things, but you're still buying snacks. They're just healthy snacks. And so everyone, I think, gets sucked into this prepackaged snack frenzy and think that you need it. Okay, you don't need it. It's nice and I enjoy them, but I rarely buy it because they are such a budget killer. And most prepackaged snacks, like take a box of cookies or a bag of chips, for example, like you can sit down with it, costs like $2 or $3, and then you sit down and it's gone in like 1 or 2 sittings. Maybe someone has more self-control than I do, and that's very likely when it comes to like eating good food or even just tasty food. But that it just like is gone just like that, and there's no nutritional value to it. Even the healthy ones have very little nutritional value to it. They're convenient, they're great, they're delicious, whether it's cheap stuff like unhealthy things or the healthier alternatives. They're still mostly empty calories, and they cost a lot of money, especially the healthy ones, but the other kind can too. So just avoid prepackaged snacks if possible, at all costs if possible. But they're all alternatives, and we love snacks in our family. Snacks is like one of their favorite words. But we have snacks every day in our house. We just choose to buy different ones. The kind of snacks that I choose to have in my house are obviously going to be healthier ones because that's important to me, but at the same time they're going to be so much cheaper cost-wise than if I just bought my kids like the little gummy snacks or Goldfish or Little Debbie's, or even like those fruit bar, protein bar snacks. So the things that I do buy for snacks are things like fruit. You will always, pretty much always, find fresh fruit in our pantry. Bananas, apples, oranges, other things that may be in season. We like just have those all the time. My kids know that's a healthy snack they can have. I enjoy having those as snacks. I buy cheese sticks, another great healthy protein snack. Nuts. All but one of my kids likes different kinds of nuts, and there's plenty of different varieties. If you're like, I'm not a nut person, or they're bland, try some different ones. We love pistachios and cashews and pecans and almonds. Different kids like different ones, but it's a nice healthier alternative. Now I do occasionally buy prepackaged snacks. If I do, I'm buying things like Goldfish. We like Goldfish, and so I will buy those every once in a while. Every once in a while, I will buy my husband a box or 2 of cookies, of his favorite kinds of cookies. And so every once in a while, I buy myself ice cream. But those are things that are not regular items, and when they're gone, they're gone. Like, I'm not rushing out to the store to get new ones to replace it. Number 8, I think I'm on 8, is avoid prepackaged, pre-made, pre-cut foods. So kind of along with the first point I said a minute ago, but is just in general, the more you can avoid something that's already been prepared by someone else, the cheaper it's going to be in the long run. Not necessarily any more convenient, because I understand like there's the convenience factor that can be a big thing for some people. I mean, I understand, I like convenient things, but I also know that it's important for me to be able to save money in my groceries, and so I have to like weigh the cost. And for the most part, our family buys or makes almost everything from scratch. There are some things that I don't. Like I said earlier, I don't make ketchup. Okay? I don't make ketchup from scratch. At this point, I don't make bread. I would love to be able to make bread, and I do know how to. It's just not something that fits into my time or space right now because of where we're living. I don't have space to have mixer out and a bunch of bread pans and do that regularly. It's a goal of mine, but not there. So there are definitely convenience items that are pre-made that go ahead, fine, buy, as long as they're not very expensive and as long as it's not something you're doing regularly. Pre-made food items, like specifically like frozen meals or canned meals, like canned soups or canned like ravioli or things like that, they're going to be way more expensive than if you just made them, and much less healthy if you buy the prepackaged than if you just made them. All right, I think I'm on 9. 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I think it's 9. All right, utilize fillers. All right, so when I mean fillers, I don't mean unhealthy fillers, like things that they add to food that have no nutritional value. They're probably giving you cancer, but they use it to fill up space. No, I'm talking about like the healthy kinds and the kinds of foods that are typically higher in either calories or oftentimes they're higher like in a carb. So if you are like on keto or something like this is probably not going to apply to you, but for everybody else, fillers, oats, beans, potatoes, homemade breads, quinoa, rice, those sort of things. So they're starches typically, and they're also typically like grains. And those are the type of foods that you can use and add into meals or add as sides to meals to fill up hungry tummies without filling up the amount of money you're spending. And so things like, let's say, potatoes are something that most people like and they're pretty inexpensive. So make some potato dishes on the side. There's tons of ways to make potatoes. You could do hash browns. You can do baked potatoes. You can do fried potatoes. You can do homemade french fries. Those are really good. My family loves homemade french fries. Mashed potatoes. So add that as an item, as a side to your meals, and it's going to fill you up for super cheap. Rice, a lot of people like to make like a big pot of rice, lightly season it, and then just have it as sides. Also, something that a lot of people like to do is to make homemade rolls or other types of breads. I do like making rolls, and I make that, not like all the time, but periodically. And it's a great way of filling up those hungry tummies, especially for kids, because kids are just burning off calories like crazy. And as long as you're feeding them healthy carbs and healthy fillers, then they're not going to be like gaining weight unhealthfully from it. Adults, okay, if you have a weight problem or if you're actively trying to lose weight, or even if you have certain things like diabetes, like you're not going to want to just like carb out even with healthy carbs. But for most, say for a lot of people, as long as you are having conscientious portions, and not going overboard in your mashed potatoes or in your rice, then it's just a good way to fill up most people in general. Number, I believe 10, is to make your own. I kind of talked about this a little bit when I was saying about the prepackaged items, like not to buy those as often, but learn how to make salad dressing. Personally, I love my homemade salad dressing. And I do not regularly buy salad dressing. I have recently started buying ranch for my kids because they have enjoyed it. But up until that point, I really wasn't buying pre-made dressings. I just made it. It's super simple to do and it tastes great. Another thing is learn to make rolls. You don't have to make a whole loaf of bread, but learn how to make homemade rolls from scratch. It's very simple. I have a very simple, easy, quick recipe that I use. If anyone's interested, you're welcome to message me and ask me about it. I'll be happy to give it to you. But learn how to whip those up in like 20 minutes and you have something homemade that's healthier and it didn't cost you hardly anything. Another thing you can learn to make is your own seasoning mixes. Like, don't buy taco seasoning in those little packets, okay? Like, you're wasting money. Learn how to just make your own taco seasoning out of seasonings you probably already have in your pantry. Just combine them together. And I don't think I have ever purchased store-bought ready-made taco seasoning. It's always been stuff that I have just thrown together. And I don't always even, I kind of like, I guess it's lazy. I don't know. I don't mix it all together like in a jar like most people and make a taco seasoning. I just pour like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and make it up as I go. So it's a little different every time. But that's how I cook in general. Okay, so number 11 is to buy in bulk. So this was one that I knew it would save me money, but I had to have money in the first place to buy in bulk, because bulk obviously costs less for a larger quantity, but it costs more all at once. And so I had a hard time like trying to figure out how to buy in bulk, and I'll give you some ideas in just a minute of how to do that. And it is something that's been very helpful to our family once we've gotten into the routine of buying things that we use all the time in bulk. This can mean going to like a big box store like a Costco or a Sam's Club, there's probably other ones out there, and buying things that you already use discounted or as less expensive. But watch out, because just because you buy something in a larger box or a larger bag doesn't necessarily mean that it's cheaper. But you need to look at breaking it down, like price per unit or price per pound, and comparing it with what you're already buying at a smaller grocery store or in a smaller quantity. It may save you money, it may not. I find that things, usually baking goods or dry goods, typically I can buy much cheaper if I buy them in bulk. Another place, my primary place of buying in bulk is the company called Azure Standard. And it is a online food co-op. So we order online and then they deliver trucks once a month to specific locations, and there's drop locations all over the country. And so you go and you pick up your stuff. So the things that I personally buy in bulk that saves us a lot of money are, we buy rice and flour and oats. Most of our sweeteners like sugar and coconut sugar and honey, all those we buy in bulk. I buy, things at Sam's Club that I typically buy are like peanut butter. I buy large bags of frozen fruit. So much cheaper to buy frozen in large bags than it is to buy even fresh in smaller containers. So those are some things. Oh, also meat. If you have a local farmer or a friend who raises cattle, like they're the best. And we have some friends that raise grass-fed cattle, and we get beef from them. We purchase, we've recently this past summer purchased a half of a cow from them, and so that is all in our freezer. So it's a large chunk of money up front, but in the long run it saves us so much money, and we get really good quality beef that way. So on to how on earth do I set aside money to buy in bulk and still be able to just buy your regular groceries. So there are kind of two ways, there's a couple ways, but what I have started doing, there's two things that we did actually. One was I would set aside a small amount each month maybe from my regular grocery amount that I was spending. And like, this is gonna be my bulk order. And maybe it meant that I only was able to buy like one 20-pound bag of oats. I kind of started out with buying oats because we go through oatmeal like crazy. So I bought like a 20 or 25-pound bag, and that was like one of my first bulk purchases. So that's only one item out of like tons that you would buy for your pantry, but it got us started. And once I bought that 25-pound bag of oats, I didn't have to buy oats again for months and months and months. I got it cheaper, like $1 a pound, and it lasted us months. And then the next month, move on to another item or two or 3 or 4 depending on where you're buying it from and what the cost is. If you find buying in bulk doesn't always mean buying in a large bag. Sometimes it might mean just buying multiple quantities of an item that you're already using. So let's say spaghetti, dry spaghetti for example. If I see a good sale on spaghetti, let's say, I find it for like 85 cents a box. Well, instead of buying just 1 box or 2 boxes, however much I need for that grocery period, you could buy 10 or 20 boxes and save money, and you're not buying it again for months. And that's another item you don't have to worry about. It doesn't come back onto your grocery list until like down the road, when maybe you can buy it on sale again. And so you just keep doing that, and slowly what has happened for us is we've been able to accumulate so much more bulk items. And now my grocery budget, what I'm actually buying every single month, is so much smaller. So actually I can take that money and set it aside. Like I can set $50 or $100 every month or whatever shopping period and put that all towards bulk purchases. And then the rest of it is just for my normal grocery shopping. So it's a great way to do it. And this leads into point number 12, which is to have a well-stocked pantry. If you have a well-stocked pantry, then you're not going to need to just run to the grocery store all the time, because hey, I could go like a month without going to the grocery store if I had to. And as we all know, with all of the pandemic stuff and all the different shutdowns that have gone on, and things like that, to be able to have a well-stocked pantry is not only going to be convenient for you and helpful if you have to stay home or can't get to a grocery store right away, but at the same time, it's going to keep you from running to the grocery store all the time. As I said in the previous video, I shop once a month usually. And being able to do that, part of it has been having these extra items on hand, having a well-stocked pantry. I know that I could go grocery shopping next week, or if I had to, then I could go another 3 or 4 weeks maybe, because I have the items that I need and not always running to the grocery store. So in the long run, that saves you money. All right, I'm going to throw a couple more in here real quick. Know your price per pound in produce. Number 13, know your price per pound for produce. So when it comes to produce, specifically fruit, I have in my mind what I'm willing to pay for a certain item per pound. Usually when it comes to fruit for me, then it's $1 a pound. I'm not going to typically pay over $1 a pound for apples or oranges or strawberries and things like that. Bananas are some of the cheapest fruit that you can get. But don't buy, just because you want strawberries, don't buy them if they're $2.50 a pound. If apples are not in season and it costs like $4 or $5 for a 3-pound bag, skip them. Buy what's in season, going back to a point that I had made earlier. All right, also number 14, check unit prices. So this goes beyond produce. There's little tags beside what the price for your item is at the grocery store on the shelves. Look at that. It usually gives you a price per ounce or per pound, whatever the unit is measuring. Look at it and compare it to the different items on there and find whatever's cheapest. It may be, let's say, peanut butter, or like bagged rice, or jam, something like that, something that's packaged. Then if you don't have a specific one in mind, like if you don't have to be like super picky about it, then look and see, okay, what is the cheaper option? And cheaper isn't always the healthiest. So you do have to take that into consideration when it comes to jam. I'm not going to just buy a jam that's full of high fructose corn syrup just because it's cheaper. But I can compare the different jams that I would like to purchase and see which one is going to be the cheapest per ounce. Same goes for pretty much anything that you can buy. Take your calculator on your phone and check it yourself if you want to, or if those numbers are not there. All right, I'm going to do a couple more. Number, I think it's 15. Buy store brands. Don't be afraid to buy store brands. in foods. Some people are like, no. A lot of times, or at least sometimes, the store brand is made by the exact same factory that makes the name brand. They just package it, bottle it differently. It's the same product. And usually buying the store brand, like I've never really noticed a difference in most store brands that I have bought. You know, occasionally you might get something bad, but most of the time I've not noticed any difference really that's gonna make me want to pay extra for the nice name brand. All right, last one I'm gonna use for right now is use coupons when applicable and when they're actually gonna save you money. I do not use coupons that much because the foods I typically buy are, one, not store brand or not name brand, and two, they're usually, coupons are for like more unhealthy, what I consider unhealthy items, things I don't typically buy for my family, or they're for packaged goods that are not gonna, they're not gonna really be that much cheaper even with the coupon. And so I'm not gonna spend all my time looking for coupons. I do use them occasionally though. My reward system in my the grocery store I go to will mail me specific coupons for the types of things that they see me buying with my rewards card. And a lot of them are store brand items, and they're items that I'm already buying at their stores. And so they will give me coupons, and I will use those. But most of the time I don't use coupons, and some people love them. But I'm not gonna spend the time, honestly, to save a few cents just to spend hours looking for coupons. But they can save you when you already have them on hand, and when they're actually gonna save you money, because coupons don't always save you money. All right, so that's gonna be my last one for this video, and then we'll get on it. We'll have one more video, we'll have a part 3, and we will finish up this series. I just want to say thank you for watching, and I hope that these give you some ideas, maybe help you out a little bit, and then I hope you guys come back next week to finish up this series on all these different tips of ways that you can save money for your family. I wanted to close this out real quick by a couple of verses out of Proverbs. And for me, like these tips can apply to anybody, whether you are you know, lady, guy, if you're married, single, college student, a grandparent, whatever. I mean, these tips can apply to like anybody. But, you know, for my journey of what my why was, like why I wanted to save money, and the journey of why I started pursuing how to save money for my family, it stemmed from I wanted to be a wise steward of what God had given my husband through income, and then he was giving to me for most of our household things. And these verses I'm going to read are from Proverbs 31, and they are to primarily encourage any like wives or mothers are out there who feel like I'm not doing anything because I'm staying home and taking care of my kids, and I feel like I need to contribute financially. And nothing wrong with, you know, contributing financially, whether you go out and get a job or whether you have a stay-at-home job, or whether you are just a wise steward of what has been given to you to take care of. And so I wanted to read these from Proverbs 31. And I'm just going to flip-flop between a couple different verses here, not necessarily reading them in order. But the verses are, she looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. So are you looking well to the ways of your household? Whether you're a wife or whether you're the husband, are you just taking care of what has been given to you? I find the verse now, I'm sorry. She riseth, or she's like the merchant ships. She bringeth her food from afar. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. She considereth a field, and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard. So she had, in this last verse, she considereth a field, and buyeth it. Would you be able to do that because you were a good steward of what has been entrusted to you? Not that you want to buy a field. I'd like to buy another field, but you know, what is it that you could say, wow, that's like really big. Like, I can't believe that that person was able to do that. Well, I mean, anyone can really, regardless of their amount of income, as long as they are being good stewards and careful. You don't have to be stingy. I'm not talking about being stingy or being a tightwad, but to be a good steward and careful with what God has given to you and to your family. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.